My brother was dead. He'd married into his wife's family, and he died the day his daughter was born. At the reception after the funeral, my sister-in-law, Chloe Sue, said she had two announcements. The first was the result of her daughter's paternity test. The second was that she was going to marry me. Chloe produced two envelopes and handed one to my father and one to hers. "This is the paternity test for David and my daughter," she said, her voice steady. "Done by Denver General. If anyone has any objections, you're welcome to order another. I'll pay for it." My father, Robert Hill, quickly waved his hands. No. Of course, the Hills recognize her as our granddaughter. No need for another test. Why waste the money? With the baby's lineage confirmed, the next topic should have been her name, whether she'd be a Sue or a Hill. But my father immediately gave up any claim, adding that my brother's entire estate would go to his granddaughter. I felt a familiar sense of helplessness. By any metric, our family was out of our league here. The Zus were one of the most powerful families in Denver, and Chloe was the CEO of Sue Corporation. We Hills, on the other hand, were a family whose best days were long behind us, with nothing to our name but the fading glory of our ancestors. The business concluded, we knew our cue. We stood up, ready to leave. But Chloe stopped me. "Kevin." She just looked at me for a long moment. I thought maybe she was searching for some shadow of my brother in my face, but then she made a decision that left the room in stunned silence. "In 6 weeks, when I'm cleared by my doctor, you and I are going to the courthouse to get married." It was like a lightning strike. My brain just short-circuited. I looked into Chloe's eyes. They were beautiful, serious, and held a hint of something I couldn't place, something between a plea and an expectation. I couldn't agree. Forget the fact that she was my brother's widow and I was his younger brother. In the 4 years she and David were married, I'd only seen her 3 times. Once at the wedding and twice at obligatory holiday dinners. Not counting the last few days, of course. We had no connection, no feelings for each other whatsoever. Besides, my brother wasn't even cold in his grave. It was impossible. But the thing that really floored me was the reaction from everyone else. The Zus and my own parents just stared for a second, a flicker of hesitation in their eyes, and then they all exchanged a look, and they all agreed. The reasons came flooding out. A single mother and her child need protection. A man has to have a sense of responsibility. Your brother always cared about you the most. The words piled on top of me, a suffocating weight. I felt lost, adrift, scared. In this huge world, I had no idea where I was or where I was supposed to go. Chloe waved a hand, dismissing the others from the room. Then she gently lifted the baby and placed her in my arms. The moment I held her, I knew I was done for. This was my brother's daughter. She looked so much like him. This woman had found my weakest point and pressed down hard. "A 3-year contract," she said softly. "I need you to be with us for 3 years. After that, if you want to leave, I won't stop you." I looked up at her. She was elegant, brilliant, a woman who held the livelihoods of tens of thousands of people in her hands. Her every word, every move was bigger than personal feelings. Her marriage to my brother hadn't been a strategic alliance between equals. Our family didn't have a standing for that. He'd married into her world. The rumor was that he was just a stand-in for the one that got away, her first love. He spent 4 years basically being her doormat, never winning her love. Even the baby only happened because they were both 28 and their parents were pressuring them. A wave of sorrow washed over me. My brother, the substitute, the simp. Only in death did he escape this twisted family. And now, Chloe wanted me to follow in his footsteps. Not a chance. "Kevin," she said, her voice cutting through my thoughts. "Your brother was in a car accident on his way to buy you something." My heart seized. The last text he sent before he died, she continued, her eyes locked on mine, was to you, not me. Shame and an unspeakable grief crashed over me. I knew they were expecting a baby, and I'd told David I'd come stay for a couple of days to meet her. I never imagined he would die because of me. My grief didn't sway her. "A little while ago, I saw you sitting in the sunlight, holding the baby," she said, her voice softening. "And it felt like I was looking at my entire world. I want to protect that peace, that happiness." Her composure seemed to crack for the first time. She wiped a tear from her eye. "I didn't marry your brother because I was in love. And it wasn't because of some old flame, whatever the rumors say. It was simple. I was at that age, and I needed a stable family life to take over the company. David and I were classmates. He was quiet, steady, reliable, and your family needed money. A lot of money. It was a partnership. For the past 4 years, he tried so hard to make me fall in love with him. I'm sorry that I couldn't. Maybe I just don't know what love is. But his death, it hurts me deeply. I didn't buy it. If she was so hurt, would she be proposing to his younger brother this quickly? Chloe, if you want a stable family, there are plenty of men who would line up for an arrangement with you. I had to say it. I know you have this person you can't get over, the one that got away. A loveless marriage is a tomb. She nodded, a flicker of shared understanding in her eyes. But now I have my daughter, she said, and I'm willing to compromise on anything for her. You're 24. You just finished your master's. In 3 years, you'll only be 27. This isn't you marrying into my family. You just have to live here. The rest of your life is your own. I don't believe you, I said. My brother wanted to get a job, work outside the house. Why didn't you let him? Instead of answering, she pulled out her phone and brought up a file. 2 years ago, David was in another car accident. It wasn't an accident. It was one of my business rivals. They wanted him to steal proprietary data from Sue Corp. He refused. So, I was speechless. So that's why he was a stay-at-home husband. Was this accident intentional too? Chloe slowly shook her head. It's still under investigation, but right now, all signs point to it being a genuine accident. Kevin, the business world is treacherous. A single mother and her child are the easiest targets. If my company goes under, I'll be handed over to some powerful man on a silver platter. I could end up dead under a bridge or in a dumpster. I can't even imagine what would happen to my daughter, if she'd even get the chance to grow up. Stop, I cut her off. Don't be so dramatic. Sue Corp is doing fine, isn't it? She gave a bitter smile. The company's debt-to-asset ratio is at 45%. We're close to the red line. The bottom line is, I need a stable family right now. Otherwise, the vultures, the disgusting men who think they can circle me, will drive me insane. She held out her phone, showing me her texts. A flood of messages from unknown numbers, a mix of condolences, threats, and feigned sympathy. It's even worse on social media. Seeing I was still wavering, she played her trump card. After 3 years, I'll provide you with $300 million, minimum, in venture capital for any startup you want. You'll also get 3% of my personal shares in Lou conglomerates. You can't sell or leverage them, but the dividends are yours. And, she added, her voice firm, for the duration of our marriage, I will not cheat. I will not have affairs. I will not engage in any romantic ambiguities. It was an insane offer. It was impossible not to be tempted. But an image flashed in my mind. The face of my own unattainable love. The woman I've been secretly in love with for years. A woman whose beauty rivaled Chloe's. Chloe must have seen my hesitation. She moved closer, taking my hand. Her scent was fresh, clean, with a faint hint of milk like melting snow. It was intoxicating. Wah! The baby in my arms suddenly started to cry. I sighed, pretending not to notice Chloe's hand squeezing mine under the baby's blanket. I'll do it. My voice sounded distant. But I don't want the money. The desire for money, I'd felt my whole life, wrestled with a moral code drilled into me. It was like two little figures fighting in my head. One screaming to take the cash, the other yelling about principles. My brother married into this family for love. Was I really going to marry his widow for money? I couldn't. The Hills could be poor, but we couldn't be without honor. I handed the baby back to Chloe. Am I being foolish? Self-righteous? No. Right there, in front of me, she unbuttoned her blouse and began to nurse the baby. Ouch! I'm not used to this yet. She bit me. It hurts. She winced, then looked back at me. A person who doesn't abandon their principles deserves respect. I like your principles. I felt my face heat up and rubbed my nose, feeling like a fraud. If I really had principles, I would have walked out. But this child, she was my weak spot. Finally getting the answer she wanted, Chloe's mood lifted. She cooed at the baby. Kevin, look, isn't she adorable when she's eating? I didn't dare look, but I wanted to. The glimpse I got had sent ripples through me. I just kept repeating to myself that this was the miracle of life, pure and sacred. Chloe, however, seemed to enjoy watching me squirm. In truth, she was flustered too. A wave of feeling had crashed against the shore of her usually calm heart. It had been a long time since she'd felt anything like it. Shaking off, she picked up her phone. I'm sending you a few documents. I need you to memorize them, word for word, within 3 days. Curiosity piqued, I opened the files. I stared dumbfounded. What? What the hell is this? The 36 stratagems for preventing a trophy husband from cheating. 100 ways to prevent your family fortune from collapsing. 1,000 ways to prevent your powerful wife from cheating. Why did the third one have so many entries? I clicked on it. The first heading, Best Friends. Below, it was a list of 200 different manipulative tactics a best friend might use. The second heading was even more explosive, the husband. My brain felt like it was melting. The scenarios described were more twisted than the worst reality TV shows. Things like, never marry a woman with a male best friend, and never marry a man with a female best friend. Thinking about it, though, whoever wrote this was a master of the game. A guru even. My brother. I started. Chloe sighed. David had too much pride. He thought I was insulting him. He never knew how many arrows my people deflected for him behind the scenes. He had no idea how many men were constantly trying to find a shortcut to success through my bed. It was hard for me, too, but he didn't understand, and he wouldn't talk about it. He just silently offered up what he called love. That night, back at my parents' house, they were pleased. My agreeing to marry Chloe was a win for everyone. My parents' medical bills and retirement were covered. My brother's daughter would have her uncle as a father. The Zus had a reliable son-in-law, and I had a new start. It was just a shame about the offer from Shaw Corp in New York that I just accepted a few days ago. All that work for nothing. The three of us ate dinner in silence. Seeing my lack of enthusiasm, my parents exchanged a look and then made a decision that terrified me. Son, my dad said, if you really don't want to marry Chloe, we support you. Don't do it. My mom was secretly wiping away tears. I know you like that other girl, she said, her voice thick. If you love her, you should go after her. Don't let us be a burden. I shook my head. How could paying for their medical care be a burden? My brother had carried this family for years. Now it was my turn. I looked up at my mom and my blood ran cold. I froze, reaching out a trembling hand to take hers. I knew my mother, and what I saw in her eyes just now. It was despair, a profound sadness, a deep-seated pain. I looked at my dad and I saw the same thing. I have a master's degree from MIT. I'm not some idiot from a cheesy soap opera. I knew exactly what they were thinking. They didn't want to be a burden, so they were thinking of ending it all. If I refused Chloe today, I probably wouldn't have parents tomorrow. You're supposed to take care of your parents when they get old, not watch them kill themselves because of you. My brother took care of them for years. Was I going to be the one to push them over the edge? Was I supposed to let them die just so I could chase my own so-called happiness? Tears streamed down my face as I dropped to my knees. Mom, Dad, I already agreed to marry Chloe. I mean it. I wasn't forced. You can't leave me. Even if I marry into her family, I'll have money for your treatments. Neither of you is a burden. If you dare to die, I'll follow you. We can all be together on the other side. My mom pulled me into a hug, sobbing, It's all our fault. It's all our fault. My dad turned away, letting his own tears fall freely. We spent all our savings, he choked out. We spent the money your brother had for his own wedding, forced him to marry into that family. We even spent your scholarship money. We feel so awful. Don't think that, I sobbed. David and I never blamed you. It's not your fault you got sick. Don't you care what David said in his will? He told us to live well. It took a long time to calm them down, to convince them I was marrying Chloe willingly. They finally went to bed, relieved. I didn't sleep. First, I sent an email to the HR department at Shaw Corp explaining the situation. Then I messaged a few friends from school, telling them I wasn't coming back to New York, that I was staying in Denver. Finally, I stared at the number pinned to the top of my WhatsApp contact for a long time. Then I deleted it. A secret crush is a coward's game, and I was about to get married. I didn't even have the right to play it anymore. The next day, I packed a bag and moved into Chloe's house. I didn't expect to walk into a trial by fire. Ethan Ford, a polished, refined-looking man, was sitting on the sofa, deep in conversation with Chloe's father. An older couple, presumably Ethan's parents, sat with him. When he saw me, Mr. Sue immediately stood up. Kevin, you're here. Let me introduce you. This is Mr. and Mrs. Ford, and this bright young man is their son, Ethan. Then he turned to the Fords. This is Kevin Hill, David's younger brother. Oh, and by the way, Kevin and Chloe are getting married next month. You all have to come to the wedding. I hadn't expected Mr. Sue to make it official so quickly. Marrying your brother's widow was a scandal, wasn't it? Shouldn't this be kept quiet? The Fords' faces were a mixture of shock and disbelief. Ethan, being younger, couldn't hold back. Mr. Sue, how can you do this? Chloe's husband just passed away. It hasn't even been a week. How can you force her to marry his brother? She just gave birth. You'll push her into postpartum depression. Mr. Sue looked taken aback, but before he could respond, the elder Mr. Ford jumped in. George, you've really gone too far this time, he sputtered. Back when our Ethan wanted to marry Chloe, you said no. You saddled her with that spineless husband. And now you're arranging another one for her? You're going to ruin her life. Mr. Sue, now covered in his old friend's spittle, was about to speak when Mrs. Ford grabbed his arm. George, I think of Chloe as my own daughter. If you keep pressuring her like this, I won't stand for it. It was clear what was happening. They were using concern for Chloe as a pretext to pressure her father into letting Ethan have another shot with her. They'd been childhood friends all the way through college. If Ethan hadn't gone abroad for his MBA, they might have actually ended up together. But in their world, marriage had little to do with love. The Zus had one daughter. The Fords had one son. A merger through marriage was out of the question, no matter how close the families were. I just stood there quietly as a housekeeper took my suitcase upstairs. I heard her inform Chloe that I'd arrived. A few minutes later, the elevator doors opened and Chloe emerged, dressed in comfortable loungewear, a soft cap on her head. Her mother followed, holding the baby. They all made polite small talk, gushing over the baby, but their eyes kept darting between Chloe and me. I couldn't blame them. As soon as she came down, she sat right next to me, her arm linked through mine. It was an intimate gesture, one that shocked even her own parents. They'd never seen their daughter this close with David. Had she developed a thing for younger men? Her father looked like he thought his daughter had lost her mind, becoming some love-struck teenager. Thank God he had a granddaughter. He could probably hold the company together for another 20 years. Chloe, Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. It's been too long. How are you feeling? I watched him, fascinated. This was him, the legendary one that got away. Would they have a tearful reunion? A passionate embrace? Would they run off to the courthouse themselves? Ethan, it's good to see you, Chloe said politely. Then she tightened her grip on my arm. This is my fiancé, Kevin Hill. She turned to me, a playful light in her eyes. I had someone workshop some lines for us last night. The mountains dance with clouds, while the moon hangs over a sea of books. How's that? Ethan looked like he'd been slapped. His eyes turned red. I thought the legendary first love was supposed to be all-powerful. He was laying it on so thick he was about to cry, but Chloe barely gave him a second glance. Was a brother-in-law more appealing than the one that got away? Did Chloe have a thing for forbidden romance? Maybe he just made his entrance at the wrong time. He looked utterly lost, as if he should be standing outside on the curb, where he couldn't get hit by the shrapnel of our PDA. And where do you work, Mr. Hill? Ethan pressed, changing tactics. Where did you graduate from? My stomach tightened. I might be a programmer, but I've seen enough reality TV to know what this was. He was playing a passive-aggressive game, trying to highlight his strengths against my perceived weaknesses. Fina, I could play too. I'm a professional stay-at-home dad. My job is to take care of my future wife and daughter, I said smoothly. As for school, Ethan looked like he'd bitten his tongue. I could see the confusion on his face. He'd been told I was some quiet, socially awkward coder. But my comeback game was stronger than his. Who calls himself a stay-at-home dad with a straight face? He knew he had to bring out the big guns. Chloe, Ford Industries just secured the development rights for the new port project in Brazil, he announced. We've reserved a 40% stake in the first phase of the project. It's yours if Sue Corp wants in. Damn, I thought his game was weak, but the man was playing on an entirely different level. This was a multi-billion-dollar contract. How was I supposed to compete with that? This wasn't passive aggression anymore. This was paving a superhighway with solid gold. Even Mr. Sue's eyes lit up. Chloe, a woman who prided herself on being tougher than any man in the boardroom, wouldn't pass up an opportunity like this, would she? The Brazil port was a gateway to the entire South American market. It could elevate Sue Corp to a whole new tier. But Chloe shook her head. I just had a baby. I'm not in any condition to take on a project of that scale. I'm afraid Sue Corp will have to pass. Ethan wasn't giving up. Your father is still the chairman. He's as sharp as ever. he could step back in to oversee things. Mr. Sue hesitated. The businessman in him screamed to take the deal. But he was older now, and the pull of family was stronger. Wah! The baby's cry was perfectly timed. It solidified her grandfather's decision. I'm too old for that, he declared. My most important job right now is taking care of my beautiful granddaughter. Mrs. Sue, a sly smile on her face, pulled her hand out from under the baby's blanket. George, she's wet. Come help. Mr. Sue grinned like a fool. Grandpa's coming, he chirped, following his wife and the baby out of the room. As I left, I caught Chloe's eye. She quickly covered her face, a little embarrassed. She wanted to explain, but she couldn't. My God, she'd weaponized her own daughter. With Chloe's stance firm, the Fords' continued presence became awkward. They made their excuses to leave. Chloe, Ethan said, one last desperate attempt. I'll give you a week to think it over. After they were gone, I couldn't help but smirk. So that's the great love you've been pining for? A guy who uses billion-dollar deals as bait to stage a corporate takeover. He's not after you, Chloe. He's after your company. Chloe's eyes curved into crescent moons, her eyebrows relaxing. A genuine smile bloomed on her face. Everyone thinks you're this nerdy, quiet, introverted programmer. But today, you were like a lion, defending your territory. That kind of confidence. It's very attractive. Her sudden praise caught me off guard. Whatever, I mumbled like an idiot. She just laughed, a bright, clear sound. Maybe it was because of her first impression of me, but she always seemed to see me as this kid playing grown-up. When you're young, you think love conquers all, but then you grow up, you have the weight of a company on your shoulders, and you learn about duty and responsibility. What Ethan and I had, it wasn't love. At best, we were two lonely kids with busy parents, huddling together for warmth. She paused. Did you look up Ford Industries? I admitted it. Know thy enemy. I just didn't expect them to show up on my first day. She smiled. Did you think they were here to propose? Not exactly. Your husband hasn't even been gone a week. Then why? I trailed off, confused. She took my hand. You're different. If I didn't lock you down immediately, I knew I'd lose my chance. David's accident. It made me realize that I need to be loved. Don't call me selfish. But when I saw you holding the baby, I think I finally understood what love looks like. A new mother can't sit for too long. I helped her back to her bedroom. I heard that a lot of women use formula to keep their figures, I said, trying to make conversation. Why did you decide to breastfeed? She pulled me down to sit beside her and burst out laughing, a throaty, unrestrained sound. If my dear husband is worried about them sagging, I can always. I'm not. No, it's not that. I cut her off, my face on fire. I was just curious. Never mind, forget I asked. She was thoroughly enjoying this. I just want to give her the best, she said, then leaned close to my ear and whispered, and don't worry, they won't sag. There are surgeries for that. And massage. The topic was getting way too dangerous. I jumped up. You should rest, Chloe. I'm going to go see my brother's room. A housekeeper led me to the third floor. David's room was the largest one up there. It seemed like he had been treated well, but my room was right next to Chloe's. She had also gotten me a new phone with a new number, claiming it was more secure against eavesdropping and suggesting I create new social media accounts. I did as she said. His room was clean, filled with a fresh scent of pine. The massive bedroom was sparsely furnished. His closet was full of designer clothes, expensive belts, watches, and cufflinks. I felt a small sense of relief. At least the Zus hadn't mistreated him when it came to material things. In a nightstand drawer, I found a notebook. It was his journal. It chronicled the emotional landscape of his 4-year marriage. May 6th, 2021. I married Chloe Sue today. She shines like the moon, a fire in my heart. I'm not worthy of her. I don't dare speak to her. March 9th, 2022. Chloe's birthday. I saved up $20,000 to buy her a bracelet. It was lost in a sea of gifts worth hundreds of thousands. May 6th, 2022. She forgot our anniversary. Just like she doesn't care about my birthday. I finally get it. She doesn't love me. I need to wake up. I'm married into this family for the money. If I think of it that way, maybe my heart won't hurt so much. Reading it left a heavy weight in my chest. My brother was such a fool. He longed to be on Chloe's level, but his own toxic mix of insecurity and pride made him choose to suffer in silence. I don't know how long I sat there before Chloe walked in. She saw me on the balcony, holding the notebook, looking like a stone monument. "Is that his diary?" she asked. I nodded slowly. "Do you want to read it?" She was silent for a long time. Then her voice was cool, distant. "No, I think I'd be afraid to." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid of admitting to herself that she had loved David, even just a little." My feelings were a tangled mess. Maybe Chloe felt something for him, but it wasn't much. My poor brother, a beggar in his own marriage, a worshiper in the church of a one-sided love. He hadn't loved the wrong person. He had just loved in the wrong way. Love without response is better left behind. I felt a great weight lift from my shoulders. I wasn't in love with Chloe yet. There was still hope for me. Chloe came over and ran her fingers through my hair. "David, your daughter, and I need 80% of your love," she murmured, as if talking to him. "The last 20%. Save 10 for your dignity and 10 for your freedom. If I ever fail you, you can leave anytime." I took her hands in mine. She was softer, fuller after the pregnancy. Her skin was like cream. The 3 little dimples on the back of her hand drew my gaze, and I felt a sudden, shocking urge to kiss them. What kind of animal was I? In my dead brother's room, having these disgusting thoughts. My 9 years of public education, my moral compass, all of it was crumbling before a pair of delicate hands. Was I just another fool ruled by desire? The days that followed were quiet. Chloe spent most of her time in bed, recovering. The ZUS spared no expense, with a rotating cast of therapists and specialists coming to the house for her postpartum care. Her body healed, and she seemed to glow even more than before the pregnancy. As for me, besides keeping her company, I spent most of my time with the baby. I learned to sing her nursery rhymes, tell her fairy tales, and rock her to sleep. I took her out for walks in the sun. I learned how to bathe her and change her diapers. I figured this is what my brother would have done if he were alive. My relationship with Chloe, however, didn't seem to be progressing. I really was just a high-end male nanny she'd hired. As she got stronger, her work started piling up. I gained another title, her personal assistant. I thought life would just continue on this placid course. But then Ethan showed up again. He caught me while I was taking the baby for a walk around the gated community. "Sign this. Leave the Sue family, take your parents, and move out of the country. And never come back." He slid a folder toward me. "Well, I didn't open it," he sneered. "It's the transfer agreement for an offshore company. Generates at least 8 figures a year. With this, you could get a green card, live comfortably. How about it? A little more generous than the chump change they offer in those cheesy TV dramas, right? 50 million, 100 million? Pathetic. This is how real power plays. Sign it, and we could be friends." I understood the unspoken threat. If I didn't sign, the only parts of me leaving the country would be my organs. The Ford's overseas operations were primarily in South America, a global hub for the black market organ trade. I smiled. "Why don't you hang on to this until you've actually taken over Sue Corp?" Ethan held up a hand, 5 fingers spread. "Help me. I'll give you this many times more." I laughed internally. "See? Who says I don't have a head for business?" "Chloe says she's going to give me a son," I said, letting the words hang in the air. That did it. The word son finally broke through his composure. His face went from pale to red to a furious purple, finally settling on a dark, stormy gray. I wasn't finished. "And our first son," I added, "is going to be a hill." Ethan shot to his feet, grabbed the documents, and stormed off without another word. I felt nothing but a calm satisfaction. This was Chloe's great love? The guy I could send packing with 3 sentences? Her taste in men was terrible. Suddenly, I felt a pang of regret. I should have told my brother to spend more time scrolling through dramatic TikToks. If he had just learned a few things about how to deal with old flames, how to handle mistresses, how to win over a CEO's heart, would he have ended up like this? "David," I whispered to the sky, "I hope wherever you are, you're catching up on your reading. Learn some foreign languages, especially Japanese. I'll bring you a new phone next time, preloaded with nothing but Netflix. You can't afford to be the nice guy anymore, bro." Upstairs, Chloe had seen the whole thing. A multifunctional monitor hidden in the baby's blanket had broadcast the entire conversation to her. When she heard me say she was going to give me a son, she wasn't angry at my lie. Instead, she found herself daydreaming about a happy life with a son and a daughter. "Kevin," she murmured to herself, a smile playing on her lips. "A man has to keep his promises." A few more quiet days passed. I knew Ethan would retaliate. I figured as long as I stayed inside the Sioux compound, I was safe. I never expected his revenge to be so swift, so precise, aimed directly at the fragile bond Chloe and I had just begun to build. Kevin Hill, I've been looking for you everywhere. The person standing in front of me was none other than the woman I had secretly loved for years, Vanessa Shaw. My goddess, descending from the heavens, wasn't a pleasant surprise. It was a shock. What are you doing here? Vanessa, looking tired and frail, took a step toward me, as if to fall into my arms. I instinctively took a step back. That single step felt symbolic of our entire relationship. Always just out of reach, a universe apart. I've been trying to find you ever since I heard you turn down the offer from Shaw Corp, she said, her voice trembling. It was like you vanished. Now I know why. The Zus were behind it, hiding you. Come back to New York with me. I know you've always liked me. I've been waiting for you to tell me. The woman I once worshipped was telling me she liked me. A year ago, I would have swept her into my arms. But now all I felt was a strange weariness. It was as if my feelings for her had just evaporated. Vanessa, you don't like me, I said flatly. You spent all your time with your childhood best friend. You had lunch with him, you helped him write his thesis, you did everything a girlfriend would do. Now you're telling me you like me? Who's going to believe that? A flash of regret crossed her pale face. Her legs gave out, and she sank to the ground. I thought if you got jealous, you'd finally have the courage to tell me how you feel, she cried. I thought you'd get over your insecurities. I thought once you started at Shaw Corp, you'd ask me out. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Andrew and I are just friends. There's nothing romantic between us. I listened to her explanation and felt nothing. Some chances, once missed, are gone forever. Besides, if there was nothing between them, why did she always look so happy with him? Why did she kneel to wipe a smudge off his shoe that one time? Why were all her birthday posts dedicated to him? There were too many things. I didn't believe a word she said anymore. I couldn't marry someone like her. A woman with no boundaries is a project for a bigger fool than me. Go home, Vanessa. Don't say any more. Don't ruin the memory I had of you. She broke down completely, sobbing. Just then, Chloe walked up beside me, holding the baby. Vanessa scrambled to her feet. Was it you? She shrieked. Did you cut off all of Kevin's contacts? Marrying your dead husband's brother. What will people say about him? You're selfish and cruel, trying to trap him with a baby. I sighed, took the baby from Chloe, and walked back toward the house, leaving the two of them to it. When my mind is unsettled, I like to listen to music. As a programmer, I'm top tier, otherwise I never would have gotten the offer from Shaw Corp. I love the world of code. It's all logic, no emotion. My advisor told me that wasn't healthy, that I was a person, not an AI. He said even Einstein played the violin. So I took up music. I was never short on money in college. MIT students are in high demand. I learned piano, but because of my insecurities, I only ever practiced in secret. I placed the baby in her carrier next to the grand piano and began to play Wedding of Love. The melody was beautiful, shifting from warmth to romance to happiness, before finally resolving into a sense of poignant regret. Outside, Chloe and Vanessa stopped arguing. They just stood there, listening until I finished the piece. One of them smiled. The other cried. On the 42nd day after the birth, Chloe put on her favorite dress. With both our families looking on, she took my hand and led me into the city clerk's office. We signed the license, took the picture, posted it to our social media. The whole routine. When it was done, she kissed me a long, happy kiss. Then she dropped me at home and rushed back to the office without a moment to spare. The war between Sioux Corp and Ford Industries had reached a boiling point. The most critical battlefield was the cash cow for both companies, their enterprise software divisions. Both were rushing to release the latest versions of their ERP, MES, PLM, and CRM systems, the four pillars of corporate management software. The return on investment was faster than real estate. You sell the software, you get paid. You sell the maintenance contract, you get paid again. Right now, Sioux and Ford were locked in a cyber war, each trying to find vulnerabilities in the other's product. Whoever won would lock down massive corporate contracts for years to come. Chloe went straight to the software subsidiary. She was there to rally the troops, promising bonuses and stock options. But her employees didn't seem as excited as she'd hoped. She thought maybe her offer wasn't generous enough. Then the division head told her the real reason. Ford hired the tech team from Carnegie Mellon, he said grimly. We can't find a single vulnerability in their system. This isn't about money anymore, Chloe. It's a talent gap. There were plenty of great programmers in the country, but people who understood both coding and the intricate workflows of corporate management were rare. And a project this size wasn't a one-person job. Ms. Sue, bad news. Ford's team found 3 backdoors in our PLM. Ms. Sue, there's a major bug in the CRM system. Ms. Sue, our main firewall is under attack. We have 5 minutes tops. Chloe's face went pale. The last problem was a kill shot. They were a software company. If their own network was breached, what client would ever trust them again? Hire a remote team. I don't care what it costs. The division head looked even paler than she did. We've already called in everyone we can. At this point, we need one of the top white hat hackers in the country. They're all working for the NSA or for trillion-dollar companies. There's no one left. What if I give it a try? Chloe jumped at the sound of my voice. She stared at me, wondering how I'd gotten in, what I was doing here, and where this sudden confidence was coming from. I held up my access badge, Mr. Sue's number 001, and our freshly printed marriage certificate. I'd had no trouble getting past security. No time to explain. Take me to the server room, I said. I've already contacted my old advisor, Professor Miles Sterling. He's getting his team online to support me remotely. Don't worry, I added with a grin. The Tick team? They used to be our punching bags. As I walked away, Chloe stared at my back. I felt like a mountain, shielding her from storm. Her heart, for the first time, felt full. The software war between Sue and Ford was an open secret in the industry. I assumed Chloe would have reached out to me. I never imagined she didn't know who I really was. An MIT computer science grad who studied under Professor Sterling. Was I so quiet and insecure in school that I flew completely under the radar? I found out later she only knew my online handle, not my real identity. To make matters worse, I had deleted all my old contacts and accounts at her suggestion. So when she had her people try to find me, I was a ghost. This whole mess was her fault. It made me realize something. If you have a skill, you need to let your wife know. Let her admire you. Give her that sense of security. Don't be like those pathetic husbands in the TV dramas, hiding their true power until it's too late and some other guy has stolen their credit and their wife. With the help of my old professor, we won. Sue Corp crushed Ford Industries in the software battle. For the next 2 weeks, Chloe was buried at the office. My life fell into a new routine. Drive her to work, bring the baby to her for feedings during the day, and then head home. After the intense period, she finally took a few days off. She found me in my home office, her assistant in tow. She unrolled 2 sets of blueprints on my desk. This is a high-powered electroshock device, and this is a new model of GPS tracker with video capability. She wanted me to design a custom smartwatch, one with a remote taser, camera, and microphone. This way, Kevin, you can always find me, no matter where I go, she explained, her eyes gleaming. You can see who I'm meeting with, what I'm doing. You can hear every conversation. And if I ever do anything to break our vows, you can activate the shock. The maximum voltage is lethal. It works on me or anyone who touches me. I was stunned. This was beyond possessive. It was insane. Was this to prevent cheating? No, this was a kill switch. How much do you have to trust someone to wear a thing like that? No, I said immediately. The taser function has to go. Chloe covered her mouth, stifling a laugh. My husband, the fake Puritan. So the surveillance and eavesdropping functions were okay? She leaned in and kissed my cheek. The one I wear will have the taser, she whispered. The one my husband wears doesn't have to. I stared at her dumbfounded. So the real purpose was to stop me from cheating. I've been played again. And